In the works of Marozzo, he says that the bill, the poleaxe, or the halberd are essentially all the same weapon. So you could do this play with a bill, which has more than one configuration, a halberd, which would be like this with a heavy blade, or with this. Now, this is typically referred to as poleaxe. People can also call it a pole hammer. The more correct historical term would be to call it poleaxe. But something of this configuration, all of them are fine. Marozzo says they're all used the same, and he doesn't see any real difference between them. Your basic stance, the usual stance, as he says, your left foot forward with your right hand in the middle, elbow tucked close to the body, left hand more toward the heel, over your shoulder like this. There's also a way to hold this with your left hand more to the middle of the weapon. That's a special case. And when you see this, you're going to see more attacking with the heel end and parrying with the heel end. Typically, though, you'll see the right hand more toward the middle. It's also possible that you'll see this weapon held out in front like this. Marozzo says if you see your opponent with the right hand in the middle of the weapon, you do likewise. So if you see something else, basically you match them. If he's down here like that, I should match that. If he's up here, I match that. So I'm looking and adapting to my opponent. And he says here, be patient. And because I'm patient, he throws a blow. It could be high or low. He says in this case, he throws it at your leg. He's trying to smash my knee. Now my knee is in front and my knee is not covered. It's not being blocked. And it's hittable. If he takes a good sized step, he could hit my leg with some extension. So we're at this measure. We're not at this measure, nor are we at in gioco largo. It's just a gioco stretto situation. He can take, and remember too, this weapon has more reach than a sword does. So with a good sized step, he could definitely reach my knee. Now, he does that because I won't strike first. I'm trying to get him to strike first. When he does that, I'm going to pass that foot back. I take my left foot behind my right. While I do that, I'll be sliding my left hand toward the heel of the weapon and throwing a fendente. Now, is this to strike his head? No, I can't reach his head. I'm stepping backwards. He may be provoking me. He may be trying to hit my leg. I don't know. It could be either case. But I'm avoiding it no matter what and throwing a fendente down. Now, when I throw the fendente, as I say, first thing I do as I'm moving back is that I'm taking my left hand and sliding it more toward the heel so that when I step back and throw the fendente, I'm in this position now where my weapon's more extended. He says down to porta di ferro larga. But he says something interesting here. And then you find yourself in a different position. What does he mean by that? After I've done that and my point's at him, I take my point away off to the side. That's what that means. So that he wants to thrust at me, which is what I'm wanting to do. Thrust to the face, upper body. I knock that away toward my right. So this is not straight up, but there's a turn of the weapon to knock that away up and to my right. And then I thrust to his face with an advancement of my front foot. I throw another thrust just to get back into position. There's the first part. On the other side. My leg is very hittable and exposed. I take it back and throw a fendente down and my point opens to my right. Knock it up and to my right, advance the front foot, thrusting at the face, thrust again to get back to the usual guard. He tries to hit my leg. I am not blocking that. This does not go to the weapon. It comes down on the fendente line, which means vertically downward, and it is to the head. Marozzo said it is. Throw a fendente toward his head. Doesn't mean to hit his head. For me to reach his head means if I step back, I can no longer reach the head. If I stretch out unreasonably, that's just not how this thing is used. And it's not his intention. He wants the enemy to commit to a thrust. I threw the fendente simply to bait my opponent. I got my leg out of the way by moving it backward. I threw the fendente. These can be done fairly simultaneously, as long as you understand you are trying to not touch the opponent's weapon. I let it pass and throw a fendente down toward the head. It's not like I made an effort to block that. Make no effort to block that blow. fendente. Now he says into portafire larga, but you put yourself into a different position. It means this, because if I'm here, he might not thrust at me at all, because if he thrusts at me from here, he's got to watch out for my point. I take my point away. Number two is that if I don't move it over out of portafire larga, I won't have a good angle to parry his thrust. It goes across to my right side, opening me up and giving me a good angle, crossing angle of the halves with which to block that. And you see, it's in the manner of a mezzavolta, this action that we will make with the partisan and with the spear. Very similar to that. Just don't get entangled, your iron with their iron. There's no hooking happening here. Beat it away so that you're free to make your own thrust. So if I've chosen to be agent here, what am I doing? I am trying to hit that leg. I will make some adjustment to my grip. If I'm intending on actually hitting, I don't want to telegraph anything unless I'm making a show I'm provoking. Let's say I'm not provoking, I want to actually do it. I need to minimize anything that's visible, any change in my appearance, so I minimize that. Go right for that leg. And it's with force, and these things are heavy. So what's going to happen? I'm going to go in vain, as he says. If he steps that leg back, I'm over here now. He opened that up. What do I do now? Well, this is kind of far. So yes, taking, as they say, drive the front foot forward with the rear foot. I gather up my rear foot, and you see some change in the grip here. After I struck, I gather my rear foot, bring my weapon a bit back and changing the point direction toward the face, and then I advance, sticking out there. I got hit.